This podcast is not intended to provide nor replace medical advice from a qualified medical professional. Tom sat in his car and stared at the scorecard. The din of the air conditioning rushing through the vents kept him locked in a state of bewildered distance from the real world. Popping into his mind and then quickly out again were the memories of missed putts, fat shots that went half the distance they were supposed to, and the errant drives that, after the third one, had him so defeated he wasn't sure if he would be able to make it through the whole round. Tom is a fairly good golfer. He manages to hover around an 8 handicap and gives the club championship a good run most years. So when he wrote down the fourth double bogey on just the front 9, Tom was understandably confused, if not on the verge of a complete mental collapse. And at the end, when Tom did the math, all he could do was stare at the final number in existential disbelief. It was then that Tom asked himself the most important question of his golfing life. Why am I doing this? Why do I play this damn game? In this episode, we'll discuss the concepts of why we play golf, uncover the advantages of having a clear understanding of our whys, and work with an activity to help us in that pursuit. My name is Patrick, and this is The Mind Game. We all have many whys. Why we get up in the morning, or why we set the alarm for a particular time. Why we enjoy certain types of music, or why a particular coffee drink is our favorite. More importantly, in the context of this podcast, is why we play golf. Most of us will have several whys for our participation in golf. They can be something as simple as maintaining a healthy lifestyle, or as complicated as being a world champion. In between are too many to list. The structure of our whys and how they interact with each other can be quite complicated. We often imagine the hierarchy of authority as a pyramid with the most powerful being small in number and at the top. The hierarchy of our whys is exactly the opposite. For example, picture the why of becoming a PGA Tour player. We could certainly have a succession of whys that includes being a top performer on the Korn Ferry Tour, winning amateur titles, having a highly successful college career, and on and on. The thing is, all of that sits at the same level in our why hierarchy. Starting at why we play golf, then taking that answer and asking why again, we will begin to uncover the layers until we reach a point where we understand that deep internal force that keeps us coming back for more. Our whys are what drives us. They are the single most important factor in every interaction we have with the game of golf. Our whys define how much time we spend in practice, how much money we spend on the game, how much mental energy we exert thinking about the game while we're not playing it. And most of us have no clue what our why actually is. It is this fact that prevents us from setting appropriate goals for our golf game. Often we hear someone say something to the effect of, "I'm not getting better." It's not because they aren't improving, but that they have no frame of reference for measuring that improvement. They can't see it, and so they believe it isn't happening. This is because they don't have clearly defined goals. And the reason they don't have those goals is because they have yet to understand why they are playing in the first place. Others somehow manage to score well, but never really know why. They too have not come to understand their true why. Still others may have clearly defined goals, meet those goals, and still somehow not seem to enjoy the game as much as they thought they would. These people have adopted the why of someone else, or created a why for themselves, and built goals to meet that particular why. The reason they don't find satisfaction and contentment with their success is that they aren't answering their own why, the true why, the why that drives them to play the sport in the first place. They are answering someone else's. Sometimes the why is given to them. This is the hardest type of why to manage and often destroys the person because they will kill themselves trying to meet it. Parents who groom their children to excel in a particular activity are perfect examples of this. These kids carry their parents' whys through to their highest level of success and then, more often than not, have a significant and heavy collapse. Identifying and accepting our why can be uncomfortable or even frightening. It requires us to be honest and candid with ourselves, and will generally require us to journey into layers of ourselves that most of us keep locked and buried away. Say, for instance, a person's why is that they crave the acceptance of others. Yet throughout their lives they have built a personality of self-assuredness and independence. That person may find it extremely difficult to expose, let alone accept, that they desire the acceptance of others. Regardless of who we are or what our why is, it is quite important to keep in mind that we will most certainly encounter difficulties in this process as we come face to face with ourselves. Remember that it is a process that takes time, effort, deliberateness, and patience. So how do we handle such an exposition of the soft bits we have learned to protect? How can we dig into the who we are without fear of or contempt for what we find? The answer lies in what is often referred to in psychological circles as radical acceptance. For our purposes, we will take a softer approach and refer to it as trusting ourselves to be gentle with ourselves. We must come to the internal agreement that who we have built ourselves to be is often a suit of emotional armor, in order to protect that which is under the surface. Because of this, we must also agree that the person who built that protective armor is most concerned with our well-being, and has our best interests in mind. So becoming open to ourselves poses no risk to us as we are opening to the most trusted within ourselves. I also ask that you take a moment. Pause this if necessary, and consider honestly that you probably already know what those soft bits are, and are just very good at hiding them from yourself. As we engage this week's activity, there are a few things we need to be aware of. To start, the first few times we will stay at the surface because we have a natural defense mechanism that will kick in and attempt to protect us. The more we engage in the activity, the more we will begin to feel when that mechanism kicks in. This is our opportunity to gently remind ourselves that we are opening to our most trusted self, and there is no danger. Second is the fact that oftentimes our answers will take on a level of absurdity. Please just let that happen and simply write down the answer. The activity is merely a means to an end, and what you write down is the most important part. Evaluation and selection of the most appropriate results is much more important to success than manipulating your process. The key here is to just answer the question without a deep amount of consideration. The less tightly you squeeze the steering wheel, the easier the car is to drive. The activity is 5 steps. It is simply a successive series of 5 questions of why. Start with the question of, why do I play golf? Take the answer from that question and ask why again. Do this 3 more times until you have asked yourself a total of 5 times, including the first. Write down your final answer and start over from the beginning. Repeat the activity at least 3 times. There is no limit to the number of times you can repeat the activity, and no restriction on taking one of the answers within the process and using that as a starting point. Please feel free to explore a bit. Peer inside yourself. I don't imagine you'll discover the meaning of the universe, but you'll certainly feel better about your level of understanding of why you play golf. You'll better understand how to approach your goal setting, and be better equipped to notice and fairly evaluate your process. As always, I strongly encourage you to engage this activity in your daily life. Having a keen understanding of the motivations behind your behaviors and decisions will certainly benefit you. Knowing your why allows you to address it and separate yourself from emotional attachment to your behaviors. Engaging in this process also comes with the added benefit of being able to be more gentle with yourself and more trusting of your motivations. Not just because you had to do that in order to move through the process, but because you will also have the knowledge of your whys as they pertain to your normal situations. You'll now be able to honestly and accurately answer the questions, why did I do that, and why do I feel this way, among others. Our whys serve as the foundation for our goal setting. They provide us a clear pathway into understanding our reason for everything we do in life. including playing the game of golf. An activity without an understanding of our whys is simply a journey without a destination. Discovering our whys can be a bit uncomfortable, so remembering that we are only opening up to ourselves will help us to maintain honesty and trust in our process. Thank you so much for listening to The Mind Game. As always, fix your divots, repair your ball marks, and enjoy yourselves out there.